Okay, so very recently, of course, like I mentioned earlier, the two faiths are into fasting, all right? The Christians actually started theirs 2 days back. That's the Catholics now. Some 2 days back, that's on Wednesday, and it's going to be lasting for 40 days. But the Muslim Ummah kicked off theirs 7 days ago. That was the 1st of March, after the sighting of the moon. That will also last around 30 days, and it will dovetail into a celebration called the Eid al-Fitr. Yesterday we had the Imam of Enugu State giving us an insight into what the Muslim Ummah gains from that fasting and how important it is for the Muslim Ummah to joining that fasting across the world. We have our colleagues on the other side. They are at Benin Kebbi. They'll be joining us shortly to talk a little bit about that as it relates to the Muslim Ummah. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you. I appreciate you for joining us online this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. The Muslim Ummah kicked off their Ramadan fast 1st of March, and this is 7 days into it. Tell us the significance of this Ramadan fast and how important is it for Muslim Ummah to join this activity in obedience to Prophet Muhammad?
Thank you so much for this very important question. Ramadan fast, like we all know, is one of the cardinal principles, or let me say the pillars of Islam. Islam has 5 pillars: belief in the unity of God, fasting 5 times a day, salat, that is prayer 5 times a day, pilgrimage to Holy Land, paying of the poor due zakat, which is the right of the poor upon the rich, and of course fasting the entire month of Ramadan, which may be 29 or 30 days, as the case may be. Now Ramadan, like I said and I repeat, is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. It's compulsory upon every believer. Even if somebody embraces Islam today or now, one has to start observing the Ramadan fast. The significance of Ramadan is many. There are many significances of Ramadan. One, the Quran made it clear that fasting is prescribed for Muslims, just as it was prescribed for the Jews and for Christians earlier before Muslims. And God Almighty mentioned specifically the object of fasting. He said, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, that fasting of Ramadan is prescribed for you so that you may attain piety, God consciousness. And therefore, the major objective of fasting is spiritual development. It is about cleansing. So Ramadan, a scholar used to say, it has 3 virtues. One is the one I have just mentioned, making the believer conscious of God. And number 2, the moral training it provides. It promotes brotherhood, sympathy, empathy, and whatnot among the believers. And thirdly, there's also a health value established medically, empirically, by empirical studies, that the body gets rid of toxins. And many of us who fast during Ramadan, we experience improvement in our health condition. So basically, these are the 3. But then it is very important to dwell on the spiritual aspect of Ramadan, because the Quran is the one that the Quran mentions specifically, that لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, like I said earlier, so that you attain piety. During the Ramadan fast, the gate of heaven are wide open and the gate of hellfire are closed. We realize that people become more devoted to God. Even those who do not strictly observe the 5 daily prayers, during the month of Ramadan, you find them praying. And then, of course, the support for the needy and the downtrodden in the society, especially the aspect of feeding. We know especially the present economic situation. Just like any time before, we have people, individuals, who cannot afford 3 square meals. And here is the period of fasting. And so, because of the the sense of mercy, the sense of brotherhood and unity. We find that there are even centers of feeding. And also Muslims individually try to feed others, whether in the neighborhood or outside the neighborhood. Because the Prophet ﷺ has made it clear that anybody who feeds the fasting person will honor the reward of the fasting person without the fasting person missing any of his roles. So God Almighty will give him equivalent of the reward of the fasting person. So if you feed 2 or 3, it's like your own reward will be multiplied by that number. During this time, Muslims, groups, and even government donate food items, food stuff, in order to ensure that everybody can afford to fast. And in fact, this type of assistance is not limited to only Muslims. The religious teaching is that you give all the needy, because it is a period when those who have are expected to support the have-nots. And the whole essence is to minimize the gap between those who have and those who do not have. Another virtue of the Ramadan, like I said, there are many of them. You see, during the month of Ramadan, God forgives sins. He cleanses sins. So when we say the gates of paradise are wide open, the gates of hellfire are closed, it signifies that God opens his doors for forgiveness. In fact, it was said every night the Lord will descend to the lowest heaven, asking, those who want to do good shall come forward, and those who are evildoers shall minimize, shall stop doing evil. And the Lord will ask, who is that who has a request? Let him put forward his request. Let him ask, and I'm ready to give. So prayers are answered during the month of Ramadan, and therefore it affords us the opportunity to pray for our country. We know the challenges, economic challenges, security challenges, the challenges of poverty, especially in northern Nigeria, where we have young boys going about the streets begging in the name of religion, which we know is against the teachings of the Quran and the authentic tradition of the Prophet. This form of begging has nothing to do with the religion. It is a product of poverty, idleness, and laziness. And therefore, if we can sacrifice the way and manner we sacrifice during Ramadan, it is teaching us that we can do no sacrifices. We can sacrifice part of our wealth. We can sacrifice, we can make use of the authority God has given us to empower the youth and women and all that who are weak in the society. Not just giving them food, finding job, impacting skills on them so that they can defend on their own. And this will go a long way in making sure that our society, our community is safe from criminal activities. Because there's a strong relationship. Research has shown a strong relationship between idleness, insecurity, and even immorality in society, where women, younger girls, opt for, selling their body, to eat food. And in this case, every member of society is in sin, has committed a sin. Those in authority, the clergy, the rich people, the ulama, the scholars, because we all have responsibility to fight these vices and ensure a safe and egalitarian society. So therefore, the Ramadan affords a lot of opportunities for us as a community, for Nigerians as a community, not just for Muslims. We are living in a country where we have Christians, we have Muslims, we have people who follow traditional religion and whatnot. And it is our duty collectively to ensure safety of this country, to ensure there is security, and to ensure prosperity by being our brothers' keepers. So the lesson in Ramadan is that we need to moderate. You see, in the midst of poverty, we also are having the problem of extravagance. You see somebody, keeping what he doesn't actually need, even his grandchildren doesn't need. This is the story of Nigeria. It's a sad story, but it's a reality. See? So the Ramadan is teaching us if we can abstain from food and drink and sexual pleasure from dawn to sunset, without police, without anybody enforcing it, out of the fear of God. So Ramadan is teaching us that we can abstain from all bad acts. We can abstain from all forms of corruption. We can abstain from crime, not only.
All right. We have been listening to an interesting conversation with my guest all the way from Taraba this morning, giving us an insight into the significance of Ramadan. I mean, he mentioned sacrifice as one of the tenets of this very interesting Ramadan season. But then when you look at things around you, especially from the government part, if the government are really truly sacrificing, why is there still suffering? I mean, some of our good books say that if there are good leaders on the saddle, as a matter of fact, it will be difficult for people to suffer. All right, but right now we've seen leaders who have coming every now and then, and there is nothing really to show for it. So we hope that as time goes on and this particular period of sober reflection, our leaders take a cue from Prophet Muhammad in order to deliver the goods that they promised the people. We're back after this. Do stay with us.
Save Nature TV. News in your pocket.